Hey guys, and welcome back to the Worst Team series, as this time, we're back for one I was actually eagerly waiting for, the Worst Team for Let's Go. I haven't actually done this video yet, which I'm sure probably surprises some of you, as we're quite a long way out from there when Let's Go first came out. However, there is never a bad time to get a Worst Team out there, because I love doing these. Let's Go is of course just another run through Kanto, but things are a bit different in these games when it comes to the Pokemon in the wild, and of course with the introduction of Trace taking over as the main rival over Blue. It's going to be super interesting to go over this team, I think. So let's waste no more time with this intro and hop right into what I consider to be the worst team for Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. So, we start off this team in the identical fashion of every Kanto worst team, with our starter Pokemon being replaced by Eradicate. The partner Pikachu and Eevee in these games don't evolve, but they're stronger than the average version of their species, so they still warrant being replaced. So with Eradicate, you can find a Rattata right at the beginning of your journey on any of the routes surrounding Viridian City. It's really that easy. Now, let's get into the interesting thing here. I think it's actually completely fine to use the Alolan Eradicate if you wish. It's bad too, but it does have the ability to make its dark-type moves hit harder thanks to Stab. I'm going to write this from the perspective of using the normal-type one, as I believe that's worse for an in-game playthrough. But the decision is up to you guys. Eradicate comes around at level 20, which is a pretty easy level to get to. So without any further ado, let's get into the moveset of this normal-type rodent and see what it's bringing to the table in a playthrough of these original Switch remakes. So the move pool that Eradicate is rocking out with on this worst team is Hyper Fang, Crunch, Iron Tail, and Dig. Hyper Fang was a super obvious move to bring out for this rat, being its former signature move and all. It's learned at level 26, and if you feel like dealing with the recoil, Double Edge can replace it at level 42. The next move is Crunch. That is learned at level 18, and brings some nice dark type coverage on this thing. Eat your heart out, ghost types, if you've even got one. The next move is Iron Tail, which is a TM you'll be purchasing in the Celadon department store. It's a useful move for dealing with rock types, as is our next move, Dig. Dig is given to you by that Team Rocket grunt who roughed up some dude's house in Cerulean. It's a decent move for coverage as well. As a matter of fact, spoiler alert, I think it's the only ground type move on the entire team. If only Eradicate could learn Earthquake. So with these moves, our Radical Rodent can attempt to do well against Lieutenant Surge's entire team, just watch out for that double kick on Raichu, Koga's Weezing and Muck, Sabrina's entire team, Blaine's entire team, Giovanni's team aside from Doug Trio, Jesse and James's Arbok and Weezing, Blue's Executor, Lorelei's Jinx and Slowbro, Bruno's Onyx, Agatha's entire team aside from her Golbat, Lance's Aerodactyl, and finally Trace's Rapidash, Slowbro, and his Jolteon or Raichu. So yeah. No surprise here from anyone, right? These regional rats might not always be the strongest things on the market, but they usually have decent enough coverage and can get the job done. It goes toe-to-toe with a lot of Pokemon here, and that's what matters in the end. Next up, we move on to our Water-type Pokemon on this team. Despite the fact that things were forever changed with Sun and Moon when it came to HMs, I still think it's important to throw a Water-type on a team even if you don't need it to surf around. The water typing is abundant and houses some great moves, and there's plenty of Pokemon you can force your way through by using those strong moves. So what water type did I come up with? There were plenty of choices and quite a few bad ones, but today I went with Golduck. I know that might be a little controversial, as I can see it already. Comments defending this guy and saying he shouldn't be on this team over Seaking or whatever. Well, I will say that's plenty fair, but I wanted to go with the lesser water type that you can get early on, as opposed to later in the game when you have access to Sea Skim. For some reason in Let's Go, Goldeen basically requires Surf to get, and of course that will take a while. However, with Psyduck, you can find one as early as Route 4 in the grass, making it a super early encounter. It even evolves at level 33. I will admit that Golduck wasn't the worst water type I could have selected, but it's still as bad and feasible to use with how early Psyduck is available. So our moveset on Golduck is Surf, Blizzard, Psychic, and Calm Mind. I decided to stick with Surf on Golduck despite it no longer being required because it's still a great stab move. It's either going to be learned at level 42 or obtained via TM on Route 15. Either way, you'll wait a while to get it, so Scald is right there from beating Misty. Hey, even if you want to use Scald over Surf, that's just as good too. I was aiming for the extra damage, but a burn can be really crucial. Then we have Blizzard, which you can find the TM for in Victory Road. Obviously, this is very late, so you'll have to settle for Ice Punch until then, which is a TM found on the route between Pallet Town and Cinnabar Island. You'll obviously need to have Sea-Skim for that. Psychic is up next, and that TM is located in Saffron City. And until you get that move, Psybeam is there for you via level up at level 27. Finally, we have got Calm Mind, which is learned via TM that is obtained from defeating Sabrina. Who doesn't want a little extra setup power? With these moves, Golduck can try its best against Erika's Weepinbell and Vileplume, Koga's entire team, Blaine's entire team, Giovanni's entire team, Jesse and James's Arbok and Weezing, Blue's Charizard, Bruno's entire team, Agatha's Golbat and both of her Gengar, Lance's Aerodactyl, Charizard and Dragonite, and finally Trace's Pidgeot, Vileplume, Marowak, and Rapidash. So Golduck might not be able to pick a few Pokemon off here or there, but for the teams it can do well against, it can do well against. Next up on the team, we're going to be hitting 2 back-to-back bug types. I know, it's overkill, but hey, each one provides different coverage. We've got Beedrill coming up first, and yeah, I decided on it over Butterfree. They're both pretty bad in these games, and I also like Butterfree more, which made it easier. Beedrill has a little bit more coverage and weaker moves though, which was ultimately the catalyst for my decision. You can find Weedle on either Route 2 or in the Viridian Forest, making it yet another early game Pokemon to help flush out the team a little bit. By level 10, you'll have Beedrill, which even if it's a bad Pokemon, it's still nice to have something fully evolved before you take on Brock. Though this thing is a bug type, so maybe not. So I don't think there's much else to go over with this thing. Let's just hop into its moveset, cause it's pretty wacky. Poison Jab, U-Turn, Outrage, and Peck of all things round out the moveset. And yeah, that's kinda strange. So Poison Jab is learned at level 22, making it a tremendous earlier game move. Then there is U-Turn, which I went with over X-Scissor. It's learned via a TM. That TM is bought in the Celadon department store, so it's going to be rather easy to get. You can use Twin Needle until then. Then, get this. We've got Outrage. Why in the world does Beedrill learn one of the strongest Dragon-type moves by a level up of all things? I guess as a bee it can get angry and outrageous, but still, it's so weird. It's the final move Beedrill learns via level up at 31. Finally, we have Peck. Honestly, I just chose this to have a random move fill in the final slot, as it's not possible to get Peck until the Elite Four when you can hard scale it on from the move relearner. If you want to do Roost or something, that's totally fine. I was just being a little bit funny, and Peck sucks, and worst team, so yeah, have fun with that. Using this moveset, Beedrill can annoy Misty's Starmie, Erika's Tangela, Sabrina's entire team, just watch out for those psychic moves, Blue's Exeggutor, Lorelei's Jinx and Slowbro, again be careful of those psychic moves, Lance's Dragonite, and finally Trace's Vileplume and Slowbro. Yeah, Beedrill is trash. It's pretty much the polar opposite of the last team member in terms of usefulness. I mean, even Peck only ends up making an appearance in battle for one Pokemon. Such a shame how bad this thing is. So our next bug type to complement our poison Beedrill is the grass Parasect. We're really hitting all the bad Pokemon today, man. Wow. So Paras is available in Mount Moon, so it's yet another early Pokemon. But I'll admit, I'm a little disappointed. I don't think we're really gonna have anything for Brock, but sometimes that sort of just happens. We'll work around him. But back onto the Parasect show. Paras will evolve into this creepy-brained parasite thing at level 24, and bring in a 90 base attack stat. It's funny because that's the same base attack stat as Beedrill, and it's kinda nice to have that earlier on in the game as well. The real big problem though is the awful speed Parasect has, on top of its really terrible grass bug typing. It isn't made to be all that successful, and what's better for a worse team than that? Parasect's moveset is Leech Life, Mega Drain, Spore, and Brick Break. Leech Life has become a great bug type move over time, and it's actually really strong on Parasect. It's learned at level 23, which is sort of weird. You'd think it would have it from an early level, but considering the power boost, I get why it's a little later. Then there's Mega Drain, and that TM is gotten for beating Erika. It's not exactly ideal on Parasect since it's a physical attacker, but I guess it's all good. Then we have Parasect's one-time signature move, the Great Spore. At least in an in-game playthrough, it can still put in the work, despite Parasect being so damn slow. Finally, we've got Brick Break, learned via TM as well, and that's gotten on Route 10 before you enter Rock Tunnel. Whatever random steel types are out there, they're going to be shaking in their boots when they stare down this mushroom. With these moves, Parasect can fail miserably against Misty's Starmie if you overlevel a bit, Lieutenant Surge's Magnemite, Erika's Tangela, Sabrina's entire team, just be careful, Giovanni's entire team, Blue's Exeggutor, Lorelei's entire team, but it'll be a challenge, Bruno's Onix and Poliwrath, Lance's Seadra, and finally Trace's Vileplume, Marowak, and Slowbro. So yeah, these last two were really just back-to-back bad stuff, huh? I honestly don't know who I found to be worse, honestly. Comment section, let me know what you think. Is the worst team member Beedrill or Parasect? I know we have 2 members left to go, but I honestly don't believe it can get worse than these 2 right here. Alright, coming up next on the team, I decided to go with the fire type. So what is really the worst one available in Kanto? Well, there would be Charizard, which to some people would be the worst because they don't like it. But we know better than that. And Charizard actually isn't all that bad, it's actually kind of cool. I looked at Ninetales and Arcanine, but of course they're not bad either. That really left me with Rapidash as the only other viable fire type, and it definitely isn't great, but I was turned off by it not being available in both games. I know I could just offer 2 different Pokemon in this spot on the team, but to tell you the truth, I think there was one Pokemon worse than Rapidash due to its move pool, and that of course is Flareon. It's a bit of a struggle for this thing. It's only got one good fire type move, and it really only gets its paws on one decent coverage move. At least Rapidash has stuff like Mega Horn and Poison Jab. Flareon really doesn't get anything aside from Superpower. Eevee is obtainable in the grass on Cycling Road, and the Firestone can be bought in the department store. So go wild, you'll have Flareon immediately. Flareon's moveset is Flare Blitz, Superpower, Will-O-Wisp, and Facade. Really impressive, right? There's literally only 2 moves that can cause super effective damage, and they both have drawbacks. Flare Blitz is the best fire type move that Flareon gets, and while it plays well with that 130 base attack, it's going to cause some really bad recoil damage. It's learned at level 31, but you know you can't actually get that move prior to capturing your Eevee. I guess you'll have to use Flamethrower until you get to the Indigo Plateau, and can get the move reminder to teach it Flare Blitz. It's found in Silphco on the 10th floor. Then there is Superpower, which you won't get until Victory Road, so you won't even have a fighting type move until then. It's heinous. Awful even. Will-O-Wisp is next, and it's just here to try and cause an easy burn because I'm running out of things I can put on this Flareon. It's a TM you'll find in Viridian City after you can cut stuff down. Finally, we have Facade, which I put on here just in case Flareon gets a status ailment. While there aren't abilities in this game, and thus no guts, I figured, you know, that could work or whatever. With this set, Flareon can plead for its life against Koga's Venomoth, Sabrina's Jinx, Blue's Executor, Lorelei's entire team aside from her Slowbro, but good lord, do be careful, technically Bruno's Onyx, but I wouldn't, and finally, Trace's Vileplume. I think I may have spoken too soon on Beedrill and Parasect. Flareon is hot garbage too, despite being utterly adorable. This team is feeling pretty evil at this point. Let's see if there is a saving grace with our last Pokemon. So we now reach the final member of this team, and I had to look around as best as I could for some coverage here. I thought about Old Reliable, the incomparable Electrode, but just didn't feel it was right to go with it because it is a little later in the game being available in the power plant, which requires the skim power to get to. So my best bet was to probably go for another normal type, this one special attacking. I was thinking about doing Wigglytuff, but its fairy typing actually makes it a little better than this Pokemon I went with. So what did I pick? It's Porygon. That's right. What would normally be a great Pokemon in Porygon is absolutely held back by the fact that in these games, it can't evolve. Its pretty decent base 85 special attack is dragged down by its poor defenses and bad speed. You can find it floating around on Route 7 between Saffron and Celadon, or get one for free after you run the rockets out of Silphco from some scientist. It's a pretty solid bad Pokemon in the context of an in-game playthrough, so I'm pretty happy I was able to include it today. Our final team member will use Tri-Attack, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, and Toxic to do its damage. Tri-Attack is learned via level up at level 22. It's got a bunch of status elements it can cause despite not being super effective against anything, which is a nice trade-off. Next, it gets Shadow Ball, which is learned via a TM you can buy in the Celadon department store. Then there's Thunderbolt, which is learned via the TM that Lieutenant Surge gives you for beating him down in your gym battle. That's a bit of coverage we were definitely looking for. Finally, there is Toxic, the TM you get for knocking off Koga. It's probably going to be a more useful move than you realize in a playthrough. And finally, with these moves, Porygon can Thlam against Koga's Golbat, Sabrina's entire team, Blue's entire team, Lorelei's entire team, Bruno's Poliwrath, Agatha's Golbat and both of her Gengar, Lance's entire team except for Dragonite, and finally Trace's Pidgeot and Slowbro. Well hey, that's a solid Pokemon to end on, right? Look, you can never expect greatness out of a worse team. However, Porygon holds up decently well here, and is certainly a member that can help make this journey just a little less miserable. Alright, that wraps up another worst team. I've actually been itching to come back to Let's Go for a team, and despite all the differences in this game compared to other releases, it's still a fun one to look back on. I really do hope that they do Let's Go Johto one day. I'd really enjoy getting to run around the region with the worst Pokemon. For now though, that's going to put a cap on the worst team series. But not for too long. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are on the horizon after all. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Hey, welcome to my new outro. A big thank you to everyone for watching the video. I want to give a huge thanks to my phenomenal team, and for the amazing art done each week by Danny the Demon. I couldn't do all this without them. If y'all enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Be sure to leave a comment too. It really helps us out. I have a brand new TikTok for MysticUmbreon, and I've got a goal to get 10k followers over there. If we can hit that goal, I'm going to pick a random video suggested to me by you guys and do it. So go over there and leave a follow. Also over on MysticSage, we've still got 2 videos going up every weekend. We've got content from My Hero, to Demon Slayer, to Dragon Ball. So come and check it out. And also check out MysticSage on TikTok. Finally, I've got an Amazon store where I sell tons of cool stuff. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm MysticUmbreon, and I'll see you next time with some more amazing Pokemon content.